I'm just saying I don't know. He's an amazing actor. I don't know that Robert Downey Jr. has the gravitas to pull off Doctor Doom. It's nothing
I'm
against him. I
no,
just think it's
well,
he's the wrong
I'm
vibe.
still on the whole part of his he's never coming back thing. They said this was it. This was the last part. I mean, there's been a few memes going around where they show all of the
Right.
MCU characters played by Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
and I think they're on point. I think at some point everybody's gonna
I
get
saw I saw
replaced.
another one where it's like, oh, I'm so glad we're bringing in this new character, and it's Chris Hemsworth. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this new character, and it's Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
I
like what?
I understand the reaction. I understand Robert Downey Jr. is largely responsible for the MCU.
I
Without his Iron Man, this whole series of movies
oh
never
no
would have
no,
gotten off the ground.
absolutely.
I don't think he's Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom needs to be scary and intense and driven and motivated. And Robert Downey Jr. is an incredible actor, but he is always a more charismatic,
Charisma, I was
nervous
gonna say playful. The
energy.
character he always plays even when he plays serious characters in Oppenheimer, you could still see some of that
And there's
sarcastic
definitely an
personality come out.
intensity,
Yeah,
but it's a
yeah,
snarky intensity. It's not
exactly.
a quiet, calm, I'm gonna
Backstabbing,
destroy the
you
earth.
know,
Yes,
exactly.
machinations,
That
right.
level, like I forget the name of the actor that played the last time they played Doctor Doom, and I feel like he got close to it because he had that dark,
Yeah.
sinister,
I can't
vampire-y
remember his
thing.
name either,
He
because
was he
that
was on it's not the Bewitched, the three girl witches, and he was a part of that show.
oh, Charmed?
Yeah, Charmed. He was one of the bad
Yeah.
guys turned love interest at some point, but his personality builds on that. Like, I mean, he portrayed it
Yeah.
very well. So when I saw him come out, I know like obviously all the fans were very like over the moon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not to say that this is the first time the MCU had characters where the same person plays two people. I mean, we see that example in Deadpool versus Wolverine where they bring in Johnny Storm as opposed to bring Captain America,
Right.
right? I mean, they play
Yeah,
that.
that
So
was cute.
cute.
Yeah.
That was very
Um,
cute.
Cake Batter bringing in Robert Downey Jr. is just the baby boomer version of Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan
And you're like,
Reynolds.
you're kind of not wrong. It was from like the 80s. He had
He'll-
that kind of like quick wit charm thing
Yeah, I
going
mean,
on. But hey, everybody,
yeah.
welcome to a
back.
tech podcast. I'm sorry. I was gonna like I didn't mean for our rambling fake
To be a
cold
serious.
open
Oh no,
to
no!
be
It
an
turned
actual
into a serious still
conversation.
You opened the MCU can, my friend, and yeah,
I
God help us
know.
all. But welcome back,
I,
everybody.
I've been having a hard time getting into the franchises right now. Like
I'm
it's nothing against Star Wars or Marvel or any of these other even The Boys.
mhm.
It's like so much of it just feels like homework to get to the conclusion of the
Just to
story.
get all the
I
dots, all
tapped
the
out 3
connections.
episodes into The Boys. I have to finish that season so that we can get ready for season 5, but I'm not really lit for season 4. I know I'm gonna have to watch it
Yeah,
for
no,
when the last season comes around. And it's that kind of stuff that just I'd rather just go and rewatch like *Halt and Catch Fire* again.
it,
Something that I know like the scope of
there's
what they're trying to
there seems to
accomplish.
be a lot of, I mean, and especially with the boys because it's not the final season. They're still going. There's still going to
Yeah.
be a lot of conversations, a lot of stretched out episodes.
Yeah.
Filler content is essentially where we are right now in
Well,
some of those. But
and did you ever read the comics?
no,
Okay.
I started the
I
show.
don't want to spoil stuff from the comics, but it's
I've seen
hilarious to
I've read
me.
some parts. I'll say that when
Yeah.
I started reading a little bit more about Homelander and Black Noir,
Uh-huh.
just to understand the relationship.
Uh-huh.
I mean, basically the same, but anyways.
Uh-huh.
So I've read bits and pieces, but I never actually read the entire. Like I didn't read the story
I just
before
think it's
getting into it.
hilarious how the show diverted us from the comics,
Mhm.
and now they've had to spend time
Bringing us back.
potentially just resetting things just to maybe get us back to what was in the comic. Like again, if you're gonna give me the vision of hey, let's really stray from the source material, then just do it.
Yeah, stick to your
Like you
story,
can
man.
do that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't tease me with like, hey, we're really gonna do something disruptive with the story that you might be familiar with, and then go, whoops, no, just kidding. We have to get to the ending. Goo.
We lost a few
So
writers. We do apologize for that. We have to get back to the
right.
books. Sorry.
Whoops.
If that's the true story there, I do apologize. But
True
I want to
story.
say again, the more you know. Um,
Yeah.
I missed the show, dude. I just realized that it's
I
been,
missed
was
your
it 3
face.
weeks?
It's
Has it
just
been like
like
3 weeks this week
it's been like
that
three
I've been
episodes. Like
either
again,
I'm somewhere or you're somewhere or we're
or
somewhere
I was
and
sick.
oh,
I don't know, man.
dude,
It's only
we
been
all
in the
went
last couple
through
days I've been able to sit upright, and your family had some issues too. I
dude,
mean, I'm
we
glad
yes.
you were
Oh
okay.
no. I still don't know 100%. Like, I feel like at some point I need to talk to my doctor or something like that and find out, like, is there a way to find out if I've ever had COVID? Because I'm
Yeah.
still on that stretch. I haven't gotten it. We had another I'm not going to say episode, but we had another round of COVID in the family, and luckily
Hmm.
I escaped that one, primarily because I was out of the country, because that's how you do it. Uh,
Right.
sorry,
And you
honey.
got lucky traveling too, because
Yep.
like
I
that's what burned me was stomped around the UK.
Dude, the stress of travel causes. I mean, I truly believe, if you've ever had any issues like mental health and stuff like that, trust me when I say that stress reduces your immune system to a very low dangerous level, and it makes you more susceptible, regardless if you typically are very healthy. And for me, that's how I've had most of my issues, is when I'm super stressed, because again, traveling, making sure stuff at home is done right, channel stuff, videos, and all that content, and all of that, like it takes a toll. June and July for me were super crazy. I mean, crazy to the
Yeah.
level, like, God knows, like, where is TK this week, kind of an episode. And
Hmm.
and then it ended up with a little bit of an R&R with the family. And even though I was like trying to relax, I mean, I was out. I was beat, dude. Seriously. I mean, there were days that
Oh, whoops, yeah, yeah.
I just laid in bed and we're just watching TV. I did not want to do things. I did not want to walk. I mean, we did things and stuff like that, but like when I was able to just sit down, I just wanted to relax, and I was just exhausted. And then, of
Yeah, we
course,
really don't get enough time off.
no,
And
we
again, if
don't.
anyone
That
understands, like,
back to back to back to back
especially
to back. Yeah.
on the YouTube side, like, we don't get vacation days. We don't get
Mm-mm.
sick days.
You're
It's
traveling and
you
your
got to
mind is
keep
thinking,
appeasing the algorithm, and if you
yeah,
don't, then you cease to exist.
yeah, no, I finally just kind of like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna say after that. I just like, I just let it go. And that's one of the reasons why the last couple of weeks we've been a little bit inconsistent on this. Although I like to
Hmm.
see that, obviously, the SCGQA's been kind of going back, and I see that, you're doing better. And
Slowly.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's
I again, it's only been in the last couple days where sitting upright for a period of time isn't so taxing that I need to go and lay down. Like, I did a podcast. I guess I'm done for the week.
oh my god, you have no idea how many times I'm like, I did one video, I'm like, I'm done for the week, right? I'm like, oh
I,
no, there's more. I
yeah, I
came
can just
back to,
retire now, right?
dude, and I was literally only gone for like a week and maybe a couple of days or so, and I came
Yeah.
back to like a mountain of stuff, and I was like, in my mind while I was out, I said, I'm trying to learn to practice this. This is a problem for future me, not a problem for me right now.
Yeah.
Because in the middle of the vacation, and I was like, I don't really. I mean, I
I
obviously I
need
was
to be
getting
here right
notification.
now.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was like,
Yeah.
literally, I was saying like, okay, look, forget about what's happening, forget what's coming up, forget about that mountain that's going to be dealt with, because that's a problem for TK on Monday. That's not a
Hmm.
problem for TK today, where I was,
Yep.
wherever I was. So I said the same thing to my wife, because she was starting to, as we got closer to the end of our trip and stuff, she was like, "Oh my God, work and all that." I like, no, 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 leave that for Vanya. For Monday, be
Right.
there.
Future Vanya. Future
Yeah.
Vanya is probably going to be annoyed with current
Oh,
Vanya,
absolutely,
but
yeah. But
that
let
you
current
gotta.
Vanya enjoy. Yeah,
Right.
but
Well, I'm glad we were able to get this. I don't mean to step on you because I'm the one that got us sidetracked on a ridiculous tangent
no,
to
no,
start. But
absolutely.
my wife reminded me that we got an official notice that tonight we have a planned power outage.
Oh,
So in
okay.
about an hour ish,
Okay.
I might just vanish from the podcast.
So
I might
Juan
just
makes.
completely disappear. So we should probably jump in to talk about the
Oh my
nerdy
God.
stuff
Okay.
that
Yeah, yeah. No,
we're
no, no,
supposed
no.
to talk
Dude,
about.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is the problem. We haven't seen each other for what, how many weeks now? Like, we're trying to catch up on that first
I
before trying to do
know.
that weekly. But no, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh, and especially now that I'm feeling better, we need to just get back on our schedule of just like going to grab lunch or something like that.
Oh, dude,
So let's.
absolutely. I was gonna suggest something this week, but maybe next week or something. But
I like I feel like just between the mountain of work that we're both coming back to, like let's see if we can make something happen next week or something like that, and
I,
kind
I,
of get that going again.
I got you, buddy. I got you. But in the meantime, let's talk about some tablets. What do you think about some tablets coming up, or at least a
I
tablet, a
mean,
specific
I,
tablet?
specific tablet. I mean, is I'm definitely planning a video where I've got tablets to
You've
talk
done tablets
about.
quite a bit. I mean, we can call you tablet
Um,
guy from now on at some point.
it's kind of weird because like it is taking me a little while to sort of get into the flow on stuff, but you've had more time to look at this guy, and
Yes.
I'm catching up on my
Uh-huh.
coverage of this bad boy right
The
here.
this is, I mean, I'll say the initial thing that struck me the most on this from the moment I got my hands on it, um, was the fact that the experience that we got with the first generation, all of the things, all the growing pains that we had to learn with the first generation were already baked into this. Everything was there, everything was done, and everything was ready to go from day one. And the polish of the software, the overall, the Oxygen OS, the way it's set up, everything is running. The keyboard, the updates to the keyboard that they did, the minor little changes here and there, the pen with the Stylo 2 that's working there, the back kickstand. Again, a lot of little things that were changed, but the price didn't change that much, and that's what got me
Mm-mm.
excited. Like with the way they were doing it,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
they stuck to the core experience of what I appreciated OnePlus for. You
Oh
know,
no, no, no. Some random guy on YouTube said that because it only comes in like the 256 configuration, that no one should buy it, and it's not worth it.
ah,
And it doesn't matter if it's like a price to performance that shames almost everything else out on the market today.
mhm,
It's that it should of, I think it was should of come, not
better.
should have.
Of course not. No,
It was should of
of come.
come
Yeah,
with more storage. Not that any of the features like where you can sync it to your phone
ah,
and share
that's hot
files and stuff like that. That doesn't matter. It's that
because
this is a completely useless piece of technology
he must
because
have
of that.
commented on my channel, because on my side he was saying that this is just not worth it because it's coming with LCD. He's like
Oh yeah, that guy too.
LCD, blue, like oh my god,
Total deal breaker. Yeah,
because
because you
yeah,
can't have a
because
good screen with an LCD.
because
That's
it's
true.
either it's POLED or AMOLED, or just get out of here. You know what I mean? Like
I'm pretty
LCD.
sure that's what Aldous Huxley wrote in Brave New World, was that they were talking about a future dystopia where everyone was entertained all the time, and how only the poor proles that weren't a part of the city had LCDs on their
Exactly.
technology, and that's why they were actually freer than the people in the city. It's a classic piece of literature. It was surprising because like technology for like liquid crystal display and organic light emitting diodes
Yep.
was like decades away from even being like invented for that. But
So
the
true.
author Aldous Huxley was so prescient in his assessment of technology that he was able to correctly call that only OLEDs for rich
You know,
people.
between
So
him and the Simpsons, we're able to predict everything at this point, because that's how it goes, right? Because the Simpsons got everything right. We know all the
I now need to
predictions.
go and scour. Like, is there any episode of the
So that
like
they start making fun of
what?
OLED and LCD.
Watch there be like an episode where they're like, "Oh, you have an LCD. No, you
Yeah,
need plasma.
yeah. Oh my God. Plasma, take us
Plasma
back to
TV."
plasma TVs or 3D. Yeah. If you're not doing them, you know what? I'm sure they have an episode on 3D TVs
They
with
have to.
glasses. Oh my God.
I stopped watching like 15 seasons ago, but I'm sure there's got
There,
to be a reference in there.
no, though there is. But so I'll say this. I'm very impressed with the tablet. So one of the things I
Yeah.
did, although I wasn't working, I did take the tablet with me as my computing device. So I had that with me, and that was pretty much everything I used on there. Between that and it's gonna sound funny, but I
Hmm.
actually took the OnePlus 12 with me as the phone for the trip. I didn't take my
Nice.
S24 Ultra. All my vacation images are on the
Hmm.
OnePlus 12 in beautiful,
Yep.
beautiful, crisp
It's
detail
so good.
and
Yeah.
in HDR, everything. Like I was seriously, and my wife obviously was still using her S23 Ultra, and I would like compare the content between hers and mine. I'm like, dude, mine is much better. The dynamic range is much better. You're able to see
Yeah.
everything, and especially, you know, I was trotting all over Europe, but the reality of the matter is, it was hot, it was humid, and it was really hot.
Yeah.
And so any device that couldn't handle heat in a very good way was not going to handle it. Like there was some serious issues with it in some area, but like the OnePlus 12 was a champ. So between that and the OnePlus Pad 2, I was connected. There was nothing I missed. transferring content super easy, and I
Yeah.
always tethered my internet connection from the OnePlus 12 to the pad, so that I was always connected.
Yeah.
So that function, yeah. So
So, because I'm just catching up, and
sure.
I never got to spend time with the first OnePlus Pad to do the device sync.
So I
Remember,
did, yeah.
we got like the
Yeah,
prototypes, and then they were like,
we,
"Oh no, we need them back," and they're like, "Oh, that's fine. At some point, I'd like a loaner,"
I
and they
know.
never got
I
back to me
I
to
got
test it
I
out.
got it for like a
the
week and a half again, and then they
the
took it
thing
back again. So I
the
never.
thing that I want to know,
Yeah,
so depending on how your cell phone plan is set up,
yeah, yeah.
do you know if that's going to count as tethering if someone's on like a metered tethering plan? Like if I
So
had unlimited on Mint,
yeah.
I'm only guaranteed 5 gig of device tethering, but if I'm using this OnePlus service,
So it
it's
doesn't turn on the
technically
it doesn't turn on the
it doesn't
hotspot.
turn on the hotspot.
No,
Yeah.
it's tethered via. I almost want to say. I initially when I first connected it, I thought it was tethered via Bluetooth because the connection would have been
Yeah.
in fact slow. It does need to have both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth turned on, so there may be a like Wi-Fi direct connection going on, but
hmm It
the
doesn't show as the Android tethering. And so I'm
that's what I meant to
curious,
say. Yeah,
like,
so the system doesn't
I
show.
wonder if
Mhm.
that would get around something like Mint. I'm,
So on my
I know it's
AT&T
like
connection.
unlimited data,
No,
but
no,
you'd
no.
still like,
Yeah, no, exactly. It shouldn't. On my AT&T connected OnePlus Open, because I'm still using the OnePlus Open, but I have it on AT&T. It connected and it shared internet without showing tethering, and I don't have tethering option. I don't have that part on my plan on my AT&T account. So for that,
mhm,
I can tell you that it does not share the internet over hotspot. It is
yeah.
sharing the actual mobile phone's connection of the internet, which is nice. So at least on the AT&T side, on the other one on the OnePlus 12, since I was traveling, I had it running on the Airalo SIM, and it had no
Right,
problem.
right, right,
Airalo
right.
doesn't care.
Yeah.
They basically give you a number of gigs. You can, sorry, you can either
Well,
tether it,
so
use it. It's the same number.
that's why I like, because right now I whittled back my Mint account. Like I
Hmm.
really haven't gone over 10 gig in a while,
Yeah.
so I pay for the 15 gig
Hmm.
a month. Which I mean, it's like if now that we've been traveling a little bit more, if I go over, it's fine to pay a little extra for a month, but it's just so much cheaper than paying for unlimited. Well,
Yeah.
now it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
If I tether and I only have 15 gig, Mint is like, fine, use all the data you pay for. But if I was on Mint Unlimited, then they reduce your tethering to 5 gig
Yeah, because they at that
because they
point
don't want
they don't
you
want you to
using
tether. Yeah,
unlimited on a real computer. So
yeah, yeah.
Michael Peppertech is saying here, I have the original OnePlus Pad and it doesn't count as hotspot.
Yep.
I tested it with Visible and originally it didn't have the speed or video limits, but they've caught on to that.
Yeah. No,
So apparently it will throttle like speed and video connections, but if I'm reading this correct, Michael Peppertech, it doesn't count against like data limits or it doesn't
yeah.
count as tethering in the
Which
same
is
way
which is
that
what we always hoped, because I think at the end, when they have to tether using the hotspot functionality, they have to have some kind of an agreement with the telcos, and at that point it stops becoming a functional option for people. And I think
yeah.
we've seen them before. Even I think Google was, I want to say Google at one point had some type of feature where it allowed you to share
I don't
data
remember, yeah.
between the devices. That
And
was one
again,
of the
it
versions
wasn't
of Android.
exactly,
It
yeah,
wasn't
it wasn't
exactly the
exactly
same,
a
but then it kind of just
hotspot kind of
disappeared.
solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it didn't work on anybody because for the most part, Google still follows, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon's policies. Because whenever you put a SIM card in the phone suddenly becomes a not locked, but like a branded version of that phone, depending on the
Right.
on the SIM that you put in. But the overall performance with that, for the reason why I was so excited about it is because even though I got my hands on it like literally a couple of days before the launch, as soon as I landed we landed in Milan, the team from OnePlus was very nice and they were able to get me a unit, and I was able to basically do some of my testing, check it out. And again, having the OnePlus 12 and OnePlus Open with
Mhm.
me made it super easy. I want to say I didn't even set up the OnePlus Open, but because it was logged into the same OnePlus account, they
Yeah.
found each other the moment they connected to the same Wi-Fi, and it was just a
Mhm.
simple screen mirroring, casting, and just so you know, this will work also with Realme and Oppo devices, just for reference. If you ever,
Very
um,
cool.
yeah, because when I first got the first OnePlus Open, no,
I
sorry,
figured
OnePlus
Oppo
Pad.
would I mean
Oh yeah,
because it's like it's basically the same
yeah. Well, last year
anymore.
when I got it, when I was testing it out for the videos and I was doing the content for it, I was using it on the Find X6 Pro. because it didn't
Yeah.
have the software wasn't ready on the OnePlus
Yeah,
11.
I never got to use it with the updates.
Yeah,
So
well,
again,
because
I was like, I was waiting to see if
there
an
there
Oppo would maybe unlock it.
it was a gradual. So yes, you're right. By the time we got them, we got early hands on. We got to do content on it. Unfortunately, it's that whole continuing story. I was able to do a quick video on that, but even that was a short amount of time. But my initial testing was with the Oppo. Realme uses the same Color OS essentially as a base. So the experience is very nice. It's very clean, very refined. The tablet is, I want to say, almost as fast. I mean, I realize the 8 Gen 3 is a lot faster than the 9000. Uh, but overall, as far as when you're rendering content, I was using I'm using LumaFusion in there I created some clips for the family from the vacation, like short videos and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Render times are performing pretty good. Um it doesn't benchmark the same as a smartphone, but I'm assuming that's just,
No.
it shouldn't really need to. If you're, I'm just trying to compare
And
the
and
Geekbench for.
it does seem, I mean, like I kind of feel like there are sometimes you get the sense where you go into the battery settings and you turn on the high performance mode
Yeah.
and it makes a remarkable difference.
Oh yeah.
And I can't say that I've always felt that way on the 8 Gen 3 for phones,
Hmm.
but there does seem to be just a bit bigger of a nudge
It
when
it's
I'm going in.
it's the cooling. It's the chassis. The body of the
Well,
tablet is
and
not as
and
constrained.
also you've got a tablet battery. You've got a
Yeah.
monster battery in here. So the chip does seem like it's able to ramp up
Hmm.
to a higher performance tier because we're not as concerned if it peaks at 15 watts. Like
Yeah.
if your phone hits 15 watts, that's a hot pocket. That's not something you want to mess with. But if your tablet goes up to like 16 watts,
It's one of the
because
things.
in like burst tests, this
Yeah.
has been one of the more consistent performers pacing the Note 24.
Yeah. And I
And
think it's.
typically that's kind of where I feel like Samsung makes a big deal out of how they often get overclocked chips. The general performance, and I've got like the more granular, like I did the file compression and podcast mix and a whole bunch of things. I completely forgot to publish my notes on the Pixel 8a.
Mhm.
So on the Patreon right now, I have a ridiculous roundup. So I wanted to compare the Pixel 8a's tensor against the Pixel 8 Pro's tensor,
Yep.
and I think there's some very interesting information when you say they have the same chip, what kind of performance difference you really get between those two phones. But at the same time, I was also testing out a Chromebook
Mhm.
with a 12th gen Core i3, the 1235, and the OnePlus Pad 2. So it's a phone, a tablet, and a Chromebook walk into a bar, and they're all less than $500. So for $500, what shape computer is going to give you the best results while you're using Android apps? So I've got all of the charts and graphs. It's the stupidest comparison I've ever come up with, but it was actually kind of fun to say, you got $500. You could buy one. Which one's going to get the job
No,
done better?
and it's a good comparison. No, legit. I mean, we say the word 500 like as if it's a low price. I mean, the reality, it's a more affordable tablet, but considering what you're getting with it, obviously for 500, that's where the bang for the buck experience.
I mean, think
Um,
about like a brand new $500 tablet used to just kind of be okay.
oh no,
Like you would have to step up to a Galaxy S or a nicer
absolutely.
iPad to
You would
have
have had to
a
be like a
good tablet.
799, 89, even $1,000. I mean, this technically outperforms the Tab, even any of the Tab S9 series. They're all running.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's a generational upgrade. I understand that there's there, but
sure.
then we're also talking about the amount of RAM that you're getting on this. It's more on the Tab S9 Ultra side. It's not on the S9, as the standard S9 series.
Hmm.
The storage that you're getting there, you have video out support on this at the price point. No other
Yeah, because
tablet in that price
Michael
point.
Pepper Tech is asking, doesn't the Pad 2 also get faster storage and faster transfer speeds for the
Yeah.
USB-C port?
No,
And
exactly.
while we do have proper USB 3.1 or
One,
3.2,
I want to say three
is it
one.
3.1?
I think.
While we do have proper USB 3 support, we get video out. And again, spoiling one of the things that I posted first on the Patreon is I can't help myself. The first thing I have to see is if there's any kind of functional desktop mode.
Oh no,
The
of course.
OnePlus Pad 2 is the only the only Android 14 device that I've tested that has a functional Android desktop video out.
Nice.
Every other desktop mode device, not Ready for, not Honor Magic Desktop, or not whatever. I can't remember what Samsung calls theirs. It's no one cares about that. It's
It's
Ready for that I
Dos.
think
No, no, no. It's Dos
must.
Equis. If you
Oh,
if
okay,
you try
yeah, because it's weird because
Samsung
it's
Dos
like the
Equis.
beer.
Yeah.
People only really seem to care about Ready for, which is amazing to me because that's the preferable desktop
Oh no, absolutely.
experience for Android phones. When you use the alternative video out mode, since Android 12, every single version has been broken where the app drawer does not format properly unless you jump through a whole bunch of hoops and ADB commands and ways that you can reconfigure the density of the
Oh, the
display, and it's
aspect
a
ratio. Yeah, yeah.
massive pain in the ass. The OnePlus Pad 2, it doesn't have any taskbar at the bottom, so when you minimize an app, it vanishes, but it actually has a functional app drawer, and it still has the top of every window with the
Okay.
little drag controls that you can full screen minimize or close the app. This
Okay.
is the only one that has this kind of functional presentation for the alternate video out. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that when we get Android 15 and we see OnePlus start to update some of these devices, that this better polished tablety video out mode that Google's been playing with
Hmm.
isn't just a Pixel launcher add-on. I'm really hoping that this is better baked into Android 15 in general,
Yeah.
and that other manufacturers can piggyback on that too. Because as
I
soon
hope
as
so.
I plug another monitor into this OnePlus Pad 2, it's like this is so much more laptop-y functional
Hmm.
than any other Android device has been since Android 11. It's difficult not getting a little emotional about the potential of having a slab of compute power that we really can do more things with.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the fact that the keyboard is detachable this time, allowing you to just literally. I mean, if you ever just want to prop the actual the tablet by
Yeah.
itself, or even if you want to just put it a little bit away and connect it to a monitor, your keyboard functions
Now, don't you
exactly how it's
feel
supposed
like Robo and Kala deserved more attention for
to.
that?
I know, I
Because
know.
like Robo and Kala does
They did
it,
that.
and they
They
do
did it
it
so
at an
well.
incredible price point, and
Yep.
then Microsoft is like, "Hey, we've got this nifty idea that we totally didn't steal from Robo and Kala," and now like everyone's like, "Hey, you can do a wireless keyboard," and you're like, if this stuff mattered, shouldn't it have mattered with like the companies that did it first? Like, wouldn't shouldn't that shouldn't
I
we care about that?
No, no, no. I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. And I feel like exactly that when you see it implemented and you're like, man, you could see where the inspiration is coming from. You appreciate what companies like Robloncala is doing, and just the refinement that we're getting. I mean, don't get me wrong. In this industry, copying is very much a the way they do business. I mean, come on, let's just again, let's take a look at Samsung and Apple. It's practically somebody's copying from somebody else's homework. We
Well,
know,
and
but
and MPT is spot on because OnePlus isn't charging $400
no,
for
but
their
that
keyboard
it's
either.
the realistic. I mean, and if you were able to grab it, by the way, during the pre-orders and get some of those specials, you could actually snag the entire thing for a very low price, like even under
I
500 with
think
accessories.
so the tablet I don't
Mhm.
think is on any kind of sale right now. It's back up to
No,
its
I think
$550 price point,
yep.
but if you buy the tablet, I think the keyboard is still half off.
The keyboard is
So
half off. The pen
you get
isn't
that
on the
for
list
like
of
80 bucks.
yeah, so the pen doesn't get discounted on this because they're not doing that. You can get 50% off on the buds, the Nord's Buds 3 Pros, and
Mhm.
or the 50% off on the keypad. And I think honestly, unless you really need the stylo, the keypad I think is the first accessory I would probably recommend anybody getting, because
Yeah.
that makes the experience so much more laptop-esque. But you
Mhm.
also get the wireless keyboard, the larger
I'm
keypad, all of the
I'm
functions.
planning a video and I might try and get it shot next week. It won't be anything fancy. It's just going to be kind of an editorial and a question, but
Mhm.
I'm kind of curious what viewers would think. Like, what else can we do with tablets? Because I'm tired of people that just fart out, oh, tablet's a solution in search of a problem. And it seems like you either armor clad it for kids so that they're more durable, because all these things are way too thin practically. You
Exactly.
turn it into a mini laptop,
Mhm.
or you try something like what Google did, like could it also be a smart display? Will people care about a tablet that also turns into a smart display? But I kind of feel like you have a slab of compute power we're missing other things that you could do with the slab of compute power,
I
and I'm
I
curious,
think
like, what
well
is the imagination on that?
for
I don't need you to come up with an answer. I'm just saying
no,
I'm
it's not
probably
even.
going to put out a question on
Yeah,
my
the
channel
question I
sometime
think
next week.
it's always been a question for me because you gravitate to what works for you the best. We have laptops, we have smartphones, tablets kind of fall in between that. I, s- I truly see where we are going with the tablet market. I mean, it's not dead. It did not die. So it still has a purpose and there's still a need. And we're seeing more productivity driven applications like what we're
Well,
getting
and
here
we
with the
also
keyboard.
see a clear direction right now where I think Google is going to be making Chrome OS more like Android. The
Well,
biggest
yeah,
functionality improvements to Chrome OS are like the inclusion of Android apps because no one's really making Chrome apps. So like if your Chromebook is already having to emulate Android and bring that functionality in,
why not?
well,
Why not do the reverse and allow
I mean,
Android to
I
emulate
have
Chrome
I
as a
have
desktop experience?
a post with bar graphs that show when and where a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is able to horrifically embarrass a 12th gen Core i3. So maybe it's
Intel has its
really
own
not good.
problems right
And
now. They're
the
firing
Core
like about
i3
1,500 people out of their staff right now. Yeah, so yeah,
has
no,
active fans on it. The
that's true.
cooling
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
the Core
No
i3 is
passive
not
cooling on
able
that.
to help it. I'm just saying we seem to still, I mean, and techies are guilty of this too, where we think that is a laptop processor and that is a tablet processor. And I don't give a
A
care
Farfig
for that
Newton, that's
argument
what it's called, a Farfig Newton.
because compute
Man, I
power is
haven't said that
compute
for
power.
no, no.
And if I can
Well, the
demonstrate
X Elite
compute
can
power,
definitely demonstrate how mobile processors can
sure.
actually perform Windows based. No, no, I think what the biggest thing is the tablet form factor allows us to, and we've seen this before, where the reason why I forgot the point I was trying to make before, where the Dimensity 9000 thrived on the OnePlus Pad, and it did have some concerns with heating as the 8 Gen 1 had back in the day when both of those came out.
Yeah,
It's because of the chassis, it's because of the room where it's able to actually breathe, and because we don't typically hold it
sure.
where the processor's sitting. You had a amazing tablet that provided you so much power, and you were able to not have to deal with the heat. Overall, where we are right now with the tablet, it's still a transformative experience. You're right, there's a category of tablet that's pretty much set for kids. There's the budget side, there is the connected pre-built into, like Verizon tablets and stuff
Hmm.
like that. We've seen those with TCL. Those were considered to be more fleet style, more like
Yeah.
work
But
related, not
even
really
but
productivity.
even those, like I know they say
No, no,
work.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's
oh, they've
really
got they've got an LTE connection, so I guess you can do your work on the road. But it's using
no, no,
like,
no. It's intended to be run in a browser, in a Chrome browser, kind of like Chrome OS, and connected to the LTE. That's pure. No, no. The reality, that's what it is. They're leveraging the
yeah.
connected
But
option.
even then, it's got like 6 gigs of RAM, so
Yeah. No,
Chrome is
no.
allowed to have two browsers open, two tabs open, and then you've tanked the system
Otherwise, the
performance.
system.
It's
No, no. But and I think where we are right now, though, is there's Samsung that keeps pushing up and up on their pricing. There's Samsung can bring in, like, and don't
hmm
get me wrong, the Tab S9 Ultra is one of my favorite tablets. I use it. It's a
sure.
great tablet. I would recommend it for anybody that needs that big of a size of a tablet. But the reality is, 12.1 inches, 3K display, high refresh rate, 9,500 milliampere battery with 67-watt charging. Again, one of the fastest charging options on a tablet to date in the US.
Sure.
It's unheard of. Like literally, like nobody has that as an option. LG wasn't having it. TCL doesn't is no longer looking into going into that mid range anymore. They're going more the affordable side.
No.
We just don't have other players. It's literally Samsung and don't get me wrong, OnePlus. Sorry, not OnePlus. Google's approach to the latest tablet that they release. I appreciate what they're trying to do. I just don't think it works that way.
No.
It that
And and
in a
and again,
hybrid,
it's like,
yeah.
well, because I was going to say when we're looking at what could be sort of a crossover solution or a hybrid solution, we still want to kick it over. Like Lenovo's got a ton of cool gear.
Yeah, no, no.
They
Lenovo
they
kicks
had
butt.
some like tablets with OLEDs with great mid-ranger
Wi-
processors that
And
were like
mhm.
$300, and no one knows about them.
Well, and
They don't
we
exist.
saw the one. I saw the one at CES, the one that converts between Windows and Android. where when you dock it, it becomes a Windows tablet, and when you undock it, it suddenly becomes an Android tablet. It's like a dual OS type of solution. Absolutely, Lenovo kicks butt, but you're right. It's a very either it's
But if you buy a
or,
tablet, you're going to know about iPads,
Mhm.
and maybe you know about Galaxies, and then it's, well, whatever can I get for free for my kid when
Oh
I
yeah,
sign up for a new
exactly.
line at
Yeah,
the carrier store,
those
and breaking
Alcatel
through
slash
that
TCL
is,
tablets are well known for that, and they're great for
yeah,
that price
Lex.
point.
That's what we replaced Lex's Huawei MatePad
Yeah,
with when Marie destroyed Lex's tablet. She's on a TCL now,
yeah, no,
and
and they're great. They're great for
it's
that.
okay.
Yeah,
I don't know that I would use the word great. I really am starting to struggle,
I
especially now using the OnePlus Pad.
the
Obviously, $500 is too
yeah.
much to spend on a kid's tablet. I'm not trying to make the argument, but I do encounter families where kids are going through multiple iPad Pros. It is a different kind of family or wealth or something. But I'll be sitting there and talking, well, they just break them so easily. We just got to keep buying them new iPads, and you're like, what are you doing?
I,
You're giving an 8-year-old like a $1,500
I
tablet, and then
the
you're like,
the
oh, those scamps. So,
the thrive to make things thinner and lighter.
but
Yeah.
I really do have a problem, and this is one of the reasons why it kills me that like Lenovo Moto
Hmm.
won't get off their butts and engage in some traditional marketing. It really bothers me that we still kind of sell garbage to old people and kids. The two groups of people who don't understand UI lag, who need like the most help kind of getting up to speed and making tech more accessible, are the people that, well, I mean, they're not going to do a whole lot on their tablets. They're just going to watch videos and like email and stuff. So let's give them unresponsive garbage, is how we kind of treat those demographics. And when I'm using this OnePlus Pad 2, when I'm using the Pixel tablet,
Hmm.
the Pixel tablet is not a crazy high performance supercomputing productivity device, but it is so much more performant
Hmm.
than what we used to give people at like $300 to $400, depending on what sale you shop. And it's like trying to break through that conversation. Like, the only other option people seem to be aware of is I can get someone an older iPad used. And that's how I save money on a faster tablet. And you're like, if your only experience with Android was the free tablet you got at Verizon, there's a reason why you think Android tablets are garbage.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. It's a generalization because Apple made it very much your experience on an iPad is just very much experience what you think everything as it runs on an iPad the way that it's supposed to. But then you get an Android tablet and you don't realize that you're buying the entry level tablet or you're getting it for free, but you're expecting
Yeah.
the performance of like $1,800 or $500 tablet.
Well, a
And
tablet does tablety things, and that's
no, no,
all the same. And you're like,
it's
no
education.
one treats it that way.
No, it
No
comes back
one
to
handles
education.
that.
We don't get enough of that, and the reality is we try to express and show how much you're able to get for how much money you're able to spend and
Yeah.
get so much for it, and when you can do more. And this is again the OnePlus Pad 2 for me hits that mark, but it also gives you more than what you expect. And they continued the story.
Yeah.
They just it's minor refinement in different small areas. Like we got 6 speakers now as opposed to the 4. We have video out, which we
Mhm.
didn't have it before. The connectivity between OnePlus devices much smoother. I, did you try the animation with the NFC tab on the keyboard yet? Did you see that?
No, I don't have the keyboard yet.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
The
So again, I'm way behind on what you guys got hooked up with on that
there
trip. So
there
I'm
is
still catching up.
there's a I'll say that there's an animation. The animation is very reminiscent of iPhone, the two iPhone that you bump together, where one connection kind of does something and it
Sure.
shoots the other. There's a little bit of that in there, but it looks nice. The connection, like I said, is very stable overall. I mean, you don't really need it. This is more of that if you just wanted to initiate it without having to say screen share on the phone, screen share on the
Mhm.
tablet. You're still able to mirror it. But yeah, no, I mean, it's hard not to recommend it for anybody looking for a serious tablet, a tablet that lasts them for years, not a tablet that's going to last them just within the next 6 months and suddenly it stops running like it's supposed to because it's overloaded and you have to reset it to try to
I,
even get it to be as responsive as the first time you got it.
I think there's some fair comparisons and concerns when Samsung finally figures out what they want to do for their tablet refresh. I don't think it's controversial to say that Samsung is probably going to offer up longer promises on software support.
Oh no,
And
I
if
think that's
someone's
been
concerned about something like that, that's great.
yeah.
What I'm talking and what I think we're both kind of on the same page with here, nothing touches this at a performance per dollar with reasonable compromises to
No,
arrive at a lower price point.
I
There's
think
nothing.
no,
There's
no, no,
nothing that
absolutely.
touches this.
Yep, absolutely, and I think this is why I was so excited for it. When I
Yeah.
first heard about it, and I mean, obviously we know that there was another version of this that was released in China. This is the international variant of it, but the reality is, and keep in mind that which I didn't realize at the time when I made my first video before that launch, is that the international model, the European model, did not include a charger, but in the U.S. and Canada, that the charger is included in the
Yeah.
box, so you're not going to be left out, left out cold there. But it is just there's just no competition for it. And if you put it just head to head with what the Samsung side does, with the exception of Dex, and I realize Dex is a big suite because you can run Dex on the tablet. This is one of the UI things that I think Samsung did right on the tablet, because when you use it with the keyboard and mouse connection, it actually runs like a laptop UI.
Yeah.
No other tablet does that.
Although
But I think,
a bunch of guys on the Discord are like, we don't like new decks.
yeah, no, I mean, don't get me
We
wrong.
only like classic decks.
They're,
So this is where
Yeah.
I feel like if we can build any momentum on Windows on ARM, Android tablets are in for horrific competition. If we can start
do you
getting
think
some
do you think Android
Qualcomm X
tablets?
Plus devices.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, do you think we will see at some point, kind of like how Apple decided to put, their best, their best chips in an iPad Pro, but still run iPad OS? Do you think at some point we'll start seeing X Elite in a tablet?
Well, no. We're not going to see. I don't think we're going to see X Elite in Android stuff. We're going to
Okay.
see X Elite in more Windows stuff.
Oh no, absolutely. I think that's the
So
purpose
we
of
already
this
have,
build.
we already have the Surface Pro.
Yeah.
So already we have one tablet. That's a lot more expensive than a OnePlus Pad. But again, when you've got Lenovo maybe considering some gear out there with some of their really great Yoga and Flex style tablet designs, if we have a couple players like that who start tapping lower, like with the X Plus chip, not the X Elite chip,
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then I think we're going to see. So right now, if you're following like the silicon packaging industry right now, we're expecting to see X Elite maturity into 2025 that is going to result in significant price drops for Asia. So the Indian market is going to start seeing X Elite stuff arrive at like a 15 to 20% price reduction over what they're selling for today.
Yeah.
So
No,
when
I'm
those
sure.
chips are mature and you can kind of count on that generational, like, okay, we're getting our yields up, we're getting more functional chips per wafer, and we can also better use the chips that aren't good enough to be elites as the pluses, and you get an even better price reduction on that. Right now, Intel and AMD, both of their chip prices are going to be significantly higher next year than they were the year before.
Yep.
So especially for Intel, going Core Series 2, I hate how they're redoing all of their branding and stuff, but going from the Core 155 to the Core 2 whatever, we're going to see significant chip pricing on that. This is the perfect time for also a MediaTek, because there's a rumor that there's a new Companion that's going to be coming out
We're
for Chromebooks
overdue.
in 2025.
We're overdue for an update on the Companion series. We've gone almost 2 years now without a single conversation on that around that. But yeah,
And there's still the murmurs that AMD could be looking to do an ARM reference line of PC grade ARM chips, which might debut. I don't think AMD will have something to sell in 2025, but they could debut
yeah,
in 2025.
maybe.
So
cover
that's
that
all
too.
tons of competition. I still use my Robo Ancala a lot. It's like the family web portal. It just moves around the living room it is such a good tablet for like any like
Oh no,
multifunctional
exactly.
family needs. You need a browser over here, I need a kitchen timer over there, I'm streaming a movie. It's like it just goes where you need it to go. And again, it's a perfectly reasonable bucket of compute power that's only somewhat outclassed
Hmm.
by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3.
Yeah.
So as soon as all that stuff gets kind of put in place, looking at a $500 to $700 Android tablet is going to be a really interesting conversation. We're still years away from
Mhm.
Google officially merging Chrome OS and Android for
Which I hope.
larger screen
I'm.
devices.
Yeah, I hope
Windows
that
is the gig. Apple isn't going to do it. They're not going to give us a Mac OS slate in the next year or two. Chrome, you could do a Chrome slate with a
Mhm.
more powerful ARM chip. That could be really compelling, but I don't know who's working on something like that. It's Windows. It's Windows and Linux. That's going to be the gig. It's that's who's going to face. So if we can get an X Plus at like $800, that really starts chipping away at the premium tablet market.
Yeah.
Like, why do I go with a Galaxy Tab S if I could get something like a Robo Ancala or a Surface competitor, Surface Pro competitor, around $800? It's got like Core i5 style performance. It gets incredible battery life. That's a monster. That's such a heavy hitter
Yeah.
for any tech consumer who might need that slate.
I know, I'm hoping the competition gets more, and we see more. I actually just want to see more versions of the X Elite in more form factors. I mean, we had the HCX, we had the SQ3s and tablet and a different format,
Sure.
but the right now we're pretty much limited to laptop format. The only version of the X Elite that exists that is not a laptop version is the Snapdragon developer package that you're
Well,
able to pick up if you want to pick that.
Surface Pro. I mean, Surface Pro is our
But
tablet.
no,
It's
no, I
our
know.
only tablet.
It is it's a
But-
tablet form factor, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a tablet. You're right. I mean, but the price point of it isn't like Robo and Kala was 1,000,
oh,
right?
no,
Like,
no,
yeah,
no. Surface. The Surfaces you're paying the Microsoft tax.
yeah, you're
Surface Pro
absolutely
is way too expensive.
exactly.
I'm totally with you. But what I mean is, we do have one example,
Yeah,
and that example functions phenomenally well. We'd all
yeah,
agree that it's overpriced. So as soon as I see Lenovo, who is the next on my list for coming up with crazy form factors, yogas, bendables, two-in-ones, detachables,
exactly.
that's the company I think can really light up an X Plus. When we get more X Pluses, because Lenovo was the first one to kick off an X Plus, when I can get that in a detachable two-in-one,
Hmm.
Lenovo is the one who's going to crush it. I
Oh no,
think
no,
Dell and
absolutely.
HP can piggyback on that, but I think Lenovo does it better. I
Oh,
think
no,
Lenovo does it first.
Absolutely. And yeah, no, Microsoft is not in the game of trying to make different form factors. They more like the Vanguard. We learned that
But
when
but
we
tell
used.
me we're not due another Surface Book.
Uh,
Like, tell me like that wouldn't be pretty rad if we
they
could get another like dedicated GPU in the keyboard, but then X Elite in the screen.
Yep.
That would rock.
We need
I would be so on board.
this is just the beginning, and I think this is the thing. Even with AMD and everybody else jumping into it, Snapdragon has the advantage, has the years, the experience, and it's just going to create more competition. Let's just say that it's going to be more exciting for us, and we're at the beginning of it.
Hmm.
X Elite has proven itself, and this is the time where we need to basically see the maturity part of it
So
and
I
generational
think
upwards.
iPads are bulletproof. People who buy iPads are going to continue to buy
Oh no,
iPads.
yeah,
But if we start getting X Plus in more slate PC style form factors, I think Android has a really hard time with that. I
yeah,
think Samsung does okay. They'll maintain again the momentum with their customers, but a lot of people are going to start asking if I'm going to spend up to around $800 on a slate, do I get one that runs Android apps or do I get one that runs a full
those.
desktop operating system and can do Windowsy things?
Oh no, I
And I think
yeah,
that becomes a much bigger hurdle for
hmm,
Google because Google is only just kind of getting momentum back on Android for tablets.
hmm.
Like
No,
think about how neglected Android tablets have been over the last several years. we don't have a lot of developer momentum, consumer momentum. They're just kind of getting back up to speed. Microsoft has an opportunity here. I don't
And I
know
hope
that
they
they'll
take it.
capitalize on it. They're
Well, no,
really
no,
bad at that.
yeah, well, they're historically, yeah, no, they're very much
Really
reactive,
bad.
not sometimes proactive in this. Like I said, the years we needed to wait for the exclusivity deal that they had in their collaboration, just to be able to get us into X Elite and actually truly start moving the needle when it comes to Windows on ARM. Yeah, no, hopefully, but like you said, I feel like I'm with you on that one. I think Lenovo, it will be the company that moves that needle and gets it into more people's hands, so that more people can get excited about it. Because that's the limitation part of it. It's like we can get excited about it, we play with it. This is our, we're geeks about it. But the reality is, you want, your student going to school picking up a laptop with an X Elite over an
Hmm.
Intel, over an AMD, or even over picking maybe a Chrome OS, wanting a little bit more for around the price point of maybe a high quality Chrome OS
Yeah.
laptop, and jumping into Windows again. Like, there's going to be, the plus is going to be where things are. I'm
We,
totally
we,
there.
we
Yeah.
should we should probably move on. Just I think we're both very happy with
Yeah.
OnePlus's direction.
Oh man. Yes.
I'm still not ready to put out like a full review, but I feel pretty comfortable that this is yet another banger.
Hmm.
Like, since the OnePlus Open, OnePlus has just been putting out bangers.
Dude,
Like,
they're going to be launching the Apex Open in another couple of days. I didn't even realize. Like, oh my god. Okay, a whole bunch of
but just
different.
like hit
Yeah.
after hit after hit. The watches are hits. Their earbud game is really strong.
Dude.
The
Dude.
phones are super solid. And now
Yep.
this tablet comes in, just reinforcing this is one of the best fights in tech right now.
Yep.
Where you can point to some compromises, but you cannot touch this price to performance right now.
Absolutely.
So this is exactly the kind of competition we need to see from a plucky little company. Doesn't seem to be taking orders from carrier stores here in the
No, and
USA.
I appreciate that, actually. I appreciate
Yeah,
their
no,
separation back again, because we gained back OnePlus's autonomy, because there's a massive tax to work with carriers in the US. And we saw what changed with OnePlus when they became a carrier brand, and when they sat in the stores. And then now we're seeing that once they separated, they're starting to come back into their own. And I
yeah.
appreciate that. There's also a tax in the price. It
Oh
taxes the
yeah.
price, even that we just don't know the details, the specifics in the background. So I'm with you. I know we're getting close to that 1 hour mark, and I don't want to lose you before we get a
We're
chance
gonna
to talk
run
about
this until I just vanish.
one.
So
Once
we'll
one
just keep going.
vanishes, the show is. I'm just kidding. So a couple more pieces of beautiful tech that showed up on my door as soon as I showed back up here. One of them, which I was actually kind of surprised, because this is not an international device. This is Xiaomi just had a launch event, right? Literally like days from the launch of the OnePlus Pad 2. And weirdly enough, I got invited to that event, but I had already made my arrangement and I already committed to going to with OnePlus, so I could not attend the launch of this phone. They launched two phones. There's the Mix Flip and the Mix Fold. Those are the two foldable devices that they launched in the China market, and these are again Chinese edition.
Ooh.
So I was surprised that, yeah, again, so this is kind of like when we had the 13 Ultra, when that came out. It was primarily the Chinese version that got sent. So
Mhm.
I'm barely spending an initial few days with this. I'm truly trying to enjoy having Leica technology, having Leica color science on a foldable is weird. Like, I want to treat it like a regular phone more than I want to treat it like a just a in
Right.
like a
Well,
general
because the flip
phone.
form factor, we usually talk about the cameras being the biggest compromise, and I think Xiaomi's image processing is
They're like,
helping them avoid that
exactly.
feeling of a compromise.
So those are the things that excited me the most. And also, of course, where I feel like they did the best experiences, they kept the format of going with larger displays. So
Yeah.
4.01 inch, ever so slightly bigger than the Moto Razr, the Moto Razr Plus, by barely a hairline. And of course, giving us still the 8 Gen 3 in here, so similar to what we got with the Flip 6. So a lot of good things to unpack with this. I was about to go out today and do some shooting and stuff, and then we ended up
Hmm.
having an overcast day with a lot of clouds. I'm like,
Yeah.
who would have thunk it?
But we
So
needed it though, because man,
yeah,
it's been hot.
dude, it is, and it's Yeah, no, absolutely. And then of course, finally got it in the studio, which I got a chance to go to the conversation about this. I didn't actually go to the launch event of the 13 Pro Plus from Realme, but they now finally launched it. It's available in the Indian market. Initially, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but this is the brand new Realme 13 Pro Plus, the brand new color in here. The device is a very much budget friendly at about 350 bucks. Like, this is actually going to be 350 bucks. It runs the 7S Gen 2 and takes some amazing pictures. And I just dropped a reel like maybe an hour and a half or so, maybe not even an hour before the show started, with some images that I took with it while I was at Bangkok and even here within the last couple of days that I've had. So I'm spending some more time there. And then, and of course, one more video we dropped was the Nothing Phone 2A Plus. Minor update on the 2A series, a little bit more, about 400 bucks, but I feel like still a good mid-ranger, still continuing the conversation of what Nothing has offered before, and a nice little device if you're a fan of the Glyph interface and some of the customizations they have. And I think their imaging is still
So the last time we talked about Nothing, the thing is, I really want to like Nothing. They are making almost exactly the kind of phone that would not be a good fit for my needs. So I'm trying to put up front, my bias is this. Nothing is doing not that. So I can't say it's a bad phone, but this is definitely not the phone for me. Now that you've been playing with it a little bit, from our last sort of just talking about, launches and announcements and things like that.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Has anything changed your perception on that? Are you still feeling like,
I
because
think
you were more positive on it than I was. So let's just make sure people know that you were kind of already in a better place on it.
My approach to the Nothing series. I'll taking a step back and looking at what Nothing's been doing for the last year, and I'm not going to try to stretch this too long, but Nothing started to focus on the US market. They've been working on the European market, and now they're focusing on the US. Initially, with the Nothing Phone 2, they were pretty much trying to do direct-to-consumer sale, and that was the direction they went there. But since the A series, they've gone with the developer program, which is a smaller, more you apply to get it, kind of like, it's not as available as it is available in the other market. So it's no longer Nothing's focus to be very much dominating or try to infiltrate the US market. They're here, they're able to sell, but they're very much in a testing type of an experience. They're still trying to figure things out. From the 2A to 2A Plus, the band support is very similar. It's not going to cover all the bands in the US as far as like high-end 5G and ultra wideband and so on. It works great on T-Mobile. T-Mobile typically is the most friendly of all bands. I think it'll support some of AT&T, but not all of AT&T's bands. So from that aspect, you have to kind of also taper your experience of what you're getting at $350 for the 2A or the $399 for the 2A Plus. For the price point of what they offer, and if you have a good connection for it, it actually performs pretty decently. The software has been upgraded very nicely. The OS, as far as the performance, they went with a brand new Dimensity 7350. They finally gave us 4K on the front, which is we didn't have before. They changed the sensor on the front-facing camera, although I feel like it's more processor focused, not the sensor. But I think it's a compelling device for the price that it's offered. If you're a fan of Nothing's approach to Android, simple,
right,
very minimalistic.
But do you find that they are spreading the conversation well enough to build that fan base? Because like
in the US, I don't think they're focusing heavy enough on it.
Oh, no. I mean, just like in general. Obviously, their main markets are European.
I think
Indian and overseas and stuff. But
yeah.
I just like,
TMF
again,
and everything. Yeah,
it's unique. The Glyph interface is a different way to have experiences with your phone, not looking directly at the screen. Yeah, but it's one of those things where, because that is unique, there isn't another RGB phone for people to have been fans of that concept with. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so to say, like, oh, if you're a fan of the Glyph interface, is that like 10 people? who are the fans of Glyph?
I truly believe the Glyph interface is very much a wow at the initial factor, and you may come back to it later. I'll say that it's not. I try not to focus on the Glyph interface as much as what the device is supposed to be, because at the core experience, you're on the front of the device. You're not on the back of the device. getting it to light up, it's no different than having a phone light the flashlight on the back of the phone telling you have a message. That part from notification point kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
Integrating it with Uber and some of the other things, very nice. I feel like they're unique, but even nothing hasn't had a lot of developer support from other applications to bring in. There's this like a small set of applications that it's been in the same for about a year. Tesla's integration is limited to a certain point. The AirPod integration they're trying to be a lot of things. They're still trying to figure out their approach to the software. I'll say that it's getting better, and it is much
Hmm.
better than the first with the first version of the phone that we got. By the phone 2, we got a much better experience. Their earbuds are very nice, and it's a compelling device for if you're interested to have a very much unique experience. If you're fans of Carl Pei, if you're fans of the original OnePlus, and trying to
Hmm.
see something at the baby stage, early stages of its life, um, we'll have to see how they go next year. But they're doubling down on it. I mean, every phone they come out with the exception of the CMF, they're keeping the glyph. So they're
I'd be because like I've literally held nothing phones for minutes, not like really used them for any length of time. I'd be curious to see, could I at least get some of that conversation starter wow factor?
Mhm.
You and I both had. I mean, we're gonna sound like such old farts here, but like, I would pull an Honor, the Honor 8 out of my
Mhm.
pocket, and people would ask questions about that phone.
Oh my God, yes, the Honor 8.
People gave that phone a second look. That was something different,
We
and they
lost.
hadn't seen anything like that before. I wonder, would that happen with a nothing? You pull a nothing phone out of your pocket, you just kind of set it on the table, and glyphs are kind of lighting up on the back of it. And would
You'll
anyone notice if that was different, or are we now all just so conditioned to flashing lights and beeping and booping that?
I feel like the design, the see-through design, if you go with the lighter version, which is a surprising part, the 2A Plus in
Hmm.
the US is going to be coming in that gray variant, not the white one,
Yeah,
but it's very much see-through. Like you could see the wiring, you could see the different components.
yeah.
I think it'll be at least an attention grabber. I don't know if it'll be enough for people to like, hey, what phone is that type of a conversation. It's different, and I really, I'll say that I really miss I guess, again, sound like an old days. I really miss the days of honors like the V series, the V20, the Honor 8, the Honor,
Hmm.
the even OnePlus's Thunder Purple. Like when we had really nice colorways, attention
Yeah.
grabbing colorways on devices with designs that just made it stand out. Like it just truly like they were beautiful devices to look at, and not even to turn them on, just to look at. Um,
Yeah.
we just don't. I
Or,
mean,
but I mean, like, I had those other. I mean, like, the Honor 8 was probably my most asked about phone
yeah.
out in public.
Hey man, it's the first time you and I
But
met. I give that one a
heck
credit for there.
yeah.
In person, first time in San Francisco.
But the other phone again, like, because I'm not trying to knock Glyph. When I was really sporting the Razer Phone 2,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
you
That had
you had
RGB.
RGB on the back, and people would be like, "Are there lights on the back of your phone?" Again, there's like still something where people will strike up a conversation at a novelty, something they've never seen before. They inevitably will usually ask, "What kind of case do you have on your iPhone that it has lights on the back of
Yeah,
it?"
I know. That's the first question. Like, it's
But
not an iPhone.
still, there's a conversation that happens from that. I'm just curious because like there probably aren't very many of them. If a nothing phone were really shown off here in North America, would it generate some kind of interest, or would it be a conversation starter? Because that to me now becomes it's a great mid-ranger phone in a sea of great
Great
mid-ranger
major
phones.
problem.
So how do you stand out? Is it just the aesthetic of having lights on your phone? Is that enough to kick up a conversation where someone might be motivated to look at that phone?
I think I'll say the techie or the geeky side of the consumers, if they're in that, they would at least look into it and try to find out what it is. I don't know if it'll win the conversation over because once you take that out, again, Glyph is appealing to, and it has like a certain, I'll say that certain number, like again, I picked up the 2A Plus. I turned on the virtualizer for the audio, and within probably a day, I turned it off again because I realized it was just too much flashing. Because if I'm listening to audio, I don't want it to keep flashing all the time. It's cute to a
Right.
certain point, but it's on the back of the phone. It's when you're watching it, it's flashing out. It's not flat. You don't get the effect.
It's not the same as like all those great visualizers
No,
that
no,
we
no.
had for
Absolutely.
Winamp.
Yeah. Oh my God, man, Winamp. I think
Really whips
what
the
I always
llama's
say
ass.
with Nothing, although I cover it in the video to show, I generally don't focus on it because it's not
Mhm.
truly what defines Nothing. I think if we look at Nothing, it's literally a baby version of where OnePlus used to be, and I think it's going to take some time for that word of mouth and experience to pick up. Where they are right now is probably like a la OnePlus 3, OnePlus 2 to 3,
Okay.
and so it's early enough in the conversation, but they're also not. This is where the again in the U.S. market, at least in the U.S. market, they're not really making a lot of strides into pushing so much more here. They're releasing small
Yeah.
number of devices, very limited in the way you're able to get them. Like the 2A and the 2A Plus are not going to be available on Amazon. The 2 is, but the 2A Plus is only going to be available through the beta program. So
Yeah.
there's that limitation, which again, nobody's going to stumble on the beta program. Like if you search for it. So those are the things I would have loved to see more accessibility, putting it more on Amazon, allowing it to be more available, accessible.
Well,
And
but
as
also, if they're really as small as they claim to be, they might not be able to make units for regions unless they know that they've got a dedicated number of sales that they can count on.
I feel like I totally feel that, but I also feel like sometimes the way Carl builds the vision and the view of what Nothing is going to be, I feel like they need to at least appeal to the consumers that typically, again, the general consumers on Amazon, even if it is something that it'll have maybe a week or two delay to ship a unit or something, but maybe even make initially at launch have a 1,000 units, just put those, send them to Amazon warehouses and let your launch go through that at the same time. Don't limit it, but it's going to come down to, again, it's going to take some time. I think Nothing is on the right path. They're just still early on their path. They're still, the story is still being written. I think that's what it is, and we'll have to see. We'll see how. Again, Nothing Phone 3 is slated to come out next year anyway, so we're talking about at least 5 or 6 months. So we'll have to see how that comes out and what changes they decide to go. If they stick to the glyph the way it is now, or are they going to minimize it and try to add other visual effects, or maybe other unique attributes. Even a replaceable battery. Maybe I'd love to see how they did that on the CMF, but
Yeah.
a $200 phone.
And again, if OnePlus can join that conversation in earnest, I would be happy to point out, hey, this is something like
I wanted the OnePlus
the HMD
4 to come out. I wanted it. I made so much waves when I was in Milan.
Right.
Why are we not getting this in the US?
The HMD, it's kind of ripping off the Lumia, has a really novel one screw phone on rail kind of build, where it's like you take out one screw and then you can pop almost the entire phone out of the frame. So if you want to replace the battery, it's really, really easy. Any company that starts promoting that kind of repairability and can start giving us nicer devices, not just, oh, you want a replaceable battery, you must want a garbage phone that's really expensive. Like, I'm sorry, like Fairphone not getting it done. They're so expensive for pretty mediocre specs
for what
price.
they're offering. Exactly. Yeah, no, I know. It's almost.
So if I can get a good mid-ranger from Nothing, a good high-performance mid-ranger, like you're not going to feel the compromises of spending a little less, but I can pop the battery out with a screw, that becomes a completely different conversation that I'm excited to share with folks. We're going to keep talking until I vanish. I just realized, though, that because we're getting close, I'm going to go ahead and shut down my NOS so that it's not just like a rude power interruption.
No, I think we're hitting.
So you're going to hear... You're going to hear my QNAP talking in the background, and I'm sorry that there's nothing I can do to avoid that, but I'm going to shut it down right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. But yeah, no, so I mean, it's going to be an interesting... I'll emphasize to say Nothing's conversation is still in its early stages. I just want to see... Like, I like their audio solutions. I think their audio solutions have gotten a lot better. Battery life is better, but it still needs a little bit more there. The 2A Plus for me as a recommendation, let's say for a general use type of a device, it's a great 7000 series Dimensity chip. It's a great budget friendly chip. It's a good step up from the 7200. It's in the same range. But I think it's still, yeah, it's going to take some time. I think the Phone 2 for me is more of a better recommendation for anybody to pick up a nothing phone. It's a little bit more, like maybe a couple hundred or so more, but you're getting such a much better experience with a better processor. You're getting
Yeah.
a much more refined experience because, yeah, we'll have to see. I think it's hard to kind of caveat that part of it.
Well, and I'm just going to be cranky too. Like over the next year, I'm really hoping that we see some progress on the Pixel desktop mode.
Yeah,
And I'm going to have a hard time even knowing that something with like a good Snapdragon 7 series processor could probably hang with a Tensor 3
Mhm.
or Tensor 4
Tensor
even.
4,
Tensor 4
yeah.
doesn't sound like it's going to be any significant upgrade in terms of
No,
just
no.
raw compute power.
Yeah, I think we're still
But
one more year.
if I can take a Pixel 8a at around $500 and plug it into a monitor and have Android apps that can work in a windowed environment, that is a tough recommendation against any other mid-ranger. Because now I've gone from Pixels, which used to just be really good phones and kind of okay computers with pretty good cameras, to now being the best point-and-shoot cameras on the market today, with DeX-like functionality for someone who might need to stretch their computer purchase a little
No,
further.
exactly.
Like someone who's shopping in the mid-range deserves a phone that you can use that compute power to get other apps and services done.
Make the
It sh-
video out functional. Make it useful,
yeah, but
and not just have
the
it as
argument
a.
that a lot of people hit me with is someone who can afford a $1,200 phone probably doesn't care about DeX because they can also afford a tablet and a laptop and a desktop. Okay, I
Okay,
guess.
maybe,
Someone
but
people love to hit me with that kind of like, well, I mean, but I pay for all these really expensive toys, so, why would I care about displacing the functionality of
Mhm.
a nice tablet or laptop? But once you start talking about a $500 purchase and that person can take their phone, go home, pop it into a TV, or if they have like an old monitor lying around, a desktop, a keyboard and a mouse, and
Yeah.
suddenly their $500 phone is doing a reasonably good job of hanging with a 12th generation Core i3 Chromebook for around $500, why would you replicate that $500 purchase? Why would you buy the same $500 in performance twice? You wouldn't.
No.
And so that's for me going to be we haven't had this since the LG Velvet. We
Yeah.
haven't had a mid-ranger that could be counted on
It had
for tablet-y or laptop-y kinds of performance. And
was
again, this isn't unique to nothing or any one specific brand. It's not unique to Realme. I'm not trying to pick on one company, but I'm tired of super high performance $400 to $500 phones that you can't do anything else with. They have USB 2 ports on the bottom.
Yeah, my God, yeah, we
I'm
stuck to that 2.0 port for so long.
I'm tired of that. Those phones could be doing so much more, and those mid-ranger chips are disgustingly powerful now, and we're not doing anything with that compute power. Like, you can't tell me, oh, you're gonna scroll some TikTok. You're like, it doesn't help you. And
Yeah, no, it's hard to explain. Yeah, when you're buying an S24 Ultra and all you're doing is just scrolling TikToks and Instagram and writing emails and just taking casual images, not like why.
I'm not
why
going to
over-
fight someone. I'm not going to fight someone if they want
can
to spend a
their
lot of
no, no.
money.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Go ahead. But the people who need this
Yeah.
are the people who are shopping entry level to mid range, and they deserve something that can stretch their compute dollars farther.
Yeah.
And if a Pixel 8a, and even if you're not super impressed by the Tensor 3, that is still a remarkable amount of compute power, which again, I have the charts and graphs pitting it up against a 12th generation Core i3, and it's pretty interesting how those two go head to head under $500. But again, I'm tired of our conversation being from techies.
Mhm.
Oh, well, we're going to use this like average consumers. And I really struggle with that idea where I'm sure, maybe not in the United States, and maybe I'm off the pulse here, but internationally, you can't tell me that when you're in India, and someone is looking at shopping something and they're probably only going to own one primary compute device, that they wouldn't consider a device that could also replicate the functionality of a laptop, a tablet, or a desktop, and that they could buy a couple little accessories to flesh that out because they probably will own a TV and a computer.
Yeah. No. And I think it's the mid-rangers are no longer just mid-rangers the way we used to think of them back in the old days when it was basically just an okay chip.
Galaxy S4 Lite.
No, absolutely. And we're seeing more and more functions done. I mean, the 7 series from Snapdragon right now has had so many variations between the 7 Gen 2, the 7S Gen 2, the 7S Gen 3, the 7 Gen 3. There's so many versions of the chip, and they're still, we're talking 888, 865 type performance power here on a device that's selling for about $500 to $600. The limitations that we're putting into them right now is that the features that we love at the high end, on the flagship side, aren't trickling in fast enough. We're seeing them slowly come in. Pixel right now is in a very unique experience, and I want Google to grab that opportunity as fast as they can because of the 8A and the features that you're able to do that. It implement a desktop experience, make it into that mobile solution. It doesn't have to be the best experience yet. Just start it. Built on the thing that you put in Android 10, God knows how many years ago.
And get a few more people trying it.
Exactly.
And then you learn how to fix it and make it better.
Absolutely.
And now you've got a $500 phone that starts chipping away at some of the other compute products that people might own. Yeah. And I'm still just tremendously disappointed because I've been playing with Vivos, I've been playing with Xiaomi's, I've been playing with so many Pocos. Look at how much compute power can go into like a Poco F series, and then you're like, but I can't get the compute power out of the phone, and I want to get the compute power to other experiences or to other ways. So anyway, that's me rambling, and I soapbox on that kind of stuff all the time.
I'm with you. And I don't want to.
I'm also because I'm tired of all the accessories we buy to try and make the phone into something else.
Next stock, the UPerfect solution. There are things in there that'll help you augment, but the reality, you're right. You have to search for it. You have to actually be intrigued by it, and know that this is even something on your device for you to even know to look for it. Not every channel, like, I mean, outside of you and me in general, I think almost nobody talks about desktop mode. I don't really. I mean, there's a few.
The Samsung. I mean, like ETA Prime will still show advanced video out. There's
I want to say
Tech even Tablets was doing some of it for a while, but I don't think he's been covering that kind of stuff in more recent videos. And then there's like the Samsung Dex subreddit, where they'll at least entertain some conversations about like Honor Magic Desktop or Ready For as like comparison points, but it's more, can I use this with Dex? Oh, I have to use Good Lock. Oh, this is the feature for
don't get me on the whole conversation with Good Lock and Samsung at this point. I mean, 2024, and they're still not putting any of these things built in. Like, you have to manually know Good Lock exists. This is there's some understandable. Obviously, that Good Lock is not developed by Samsung. It is developed by other individuals, and they're basically aggregated into a launcher, a solution that we're getting here, which is what Good Lock offers you. And then, of course, they're labeled under the Samsung umbrella. But the reality at the end of the day is, in general, most Samsung users don't know Good Lock exists. Unless they've seen it in a video, they just don't know it is even a solution for it. But one of the things I just want my last point on this is, if Google starts putting more effort into their A series, it's going to force Samsung to put more effort into their A series when it comes to these solutions. It's going to give more companies the opportunity to be able to perform more and give us more solutions. AR glasses are becoming more popular, more affordable. We see very much, like Xreal came up with their Air 2s. We know Rocket has theirs. We know TCL has theirs. There's a lot of solutions in there that are affordable. And on a flight, there's nothing better than to be able to plug your phone into those, enjoy a movie on there without having to sit there and try to watch it on a tiny little thing. There's so many things you could do, desktop options. that's just going to make the users even more enjoying. They can enjoy the content on their devices in many different formats. But
Yeah.
it's going to come down to who brings it down first, and how do you start the conversation so that people know those are options. Like, so we'll
Yeah.
have to see. We'll see. Before we lose you, and I don't want to. I don't want to. I'd rather not have you disappear on the channel. What's going on with you? What's happening for the rest of the week? I know it's still Thursday. Are you going to be posting anything this week or anything planned?
Yeah, so catching up on just an incredible, like I've been looking at my notes here. So I've got a video, I put out a video on Maxwell, the Odyssey Maxwell.
Yeah, I saw that one.
So
Yeah.
probably, I still think this is the best gaming headset on the market today. I'm going to be getting the video out, I think, I'm not sure which one's coming out tomorrow. It's either going to be the ROG Tessin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little slider controller.
Oh, nice.
And it folds up really, really flat. I mean, really small so that you can travel with it.
Very IKEA.
Really interesting options from Asus. And like, not to spoil it, but like buttons on the bottom of your controller are cool. But when you have actual floating paddles, they just hit different. Like that just feels real good when you're gaming on one of these things. So it's either going to be that, or I've been spending a little time with the Amazfit Balance.
Oh,
So
nice.
this is the newer smartwatch from Amazfit, and I am kind of calling it smartwatch. Their big thing, just like every other company on the planet, is injecting more AI.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got a voice assistant AI that is getting me so close to walking away from Wear OS.
Oh, wow.
It is so aware of how it interacts with your phone. It's
Okay.
really good. And it's not, obviously you can send queries up to the cloud and ask it to tell you jokes and stuff. But like its ability to do device controlling natural language requests.
Mm-hmm.
Like to spoil part of this, I want to take a nap. So I long press the crown and I say, I'm going to go to sleep. Can you mute notifications for a couple hours? Done. No swiping through menus, no
No.
like
Yeah.
finding the little like not do not disturb. You just naturally talked to your watch kind of Star Trek style. I'm going to go to sleep. Okay, cool. Well, we'll turn off notifications so you can rest. Okay. I like that a lot. So it's things like that like I have not been impressed with Gemini. Gemini can't set a timer for me on my phone.
Yeah.
And here's Amazfit doing device controlling natural language interactions on a $200 watch that Wear OS cannot do. It's getting there. I'm so close. Like the battery life, the performance, the fitness tracking capabilities, and now like I can just talk to my watch and tell it to do things, and it does it better than my phone can do. Is very compelling. So
It's very
it's
compelling.
going to be one of these things. I might go gaming tomorrow. I might go smartwatch tomorrow. But then I've got a Chromebook video coming out. I've got the new GameSir, the Bluetooth version of the GameSir sliding controller. I've got a mini PC. I've got 2 editorials, one on folding phones, one on tablets. I've got 2 things that are under embargo. And I am going to do just like a little mini follow-up to the Surface Laptop to talk about audio tech. For Qualcomm's audio tech has been surprisingly good.
Nice.
I shouldn't say surprisingly. Actually, we know Qualcomm has had really good cabled audio, DACs, amps, all that stuff. But where it took Realtek a long time to be kind of more competitive in a pro audio or audiophile space, Qualcomm came out the gate just swinging. I'm gonna bring back my Bear Dynamics and talk about like this is like mixing professional grade audio hardware, doing fine. On X Elite, it's doing really well.
I'm
So
glad.
that'll probably be a follow up into next week. I have so much. Oh, and I've got another DAC that we need to talk about too. So I am way behind.
Dude, oh no, you and me both. You and me both, man. I'm again, July is over, but the mountain of stuff is not. So there's more and more stuff. I think for me, I think for the end of this weekend, I want to put out a video on the on the new Mix Flip that we got that I got from Xiaomi, just to kind of circle back and just give my opinions after using it for a few days. not a review, but more so kind of an overview. It's not an international device. It's really meant for the Chinese market. But I think just seeing the improvements that Xiaomi's been doing in all of their devices, just I feel like it's a good video just to have a conversation around that. And then I also do have a couple things that are under embargo that probably maybe I'm hoping next week, maybe late last week, maybe we'll have to see how that
Maybe
goes.
it
And
could happen.
you know what, with there's a lot of things moving on and going around. So I'm hoping things stay well. I get over this jet lag and I get back into my groove kind of a thing. Because although I'm talking to you right now, I'm like halfway kind of dipping on the other side.
Oh, now that I've been sitting upright for a while, I'm ready to take a nap. So that's I know that feel. I know that feel
We'll end
well.
the podcast on the nap situation going on with everybody. But I do want to say thank you to everybody for hanging out with us. I just see Barry Johnson's also hanging out with us as well. Thank you very much to Barry, Simon, Michael Peppertech, Farhan, everybody hanging out with us on this beautiful day, and of course, just allowing us to be part of your show, part of your experience with tech and so on. And I'm glad just to kind of see your beautiful face right there. I haven't seen you for some time. We get to talk, and we're both back in the studio, finally grounded. So we'll see you guys hopefully next week for another episode of the Best of Our Week. Make sure to catch Juan on Monday with the SGGQA. All the show information, hopefully the audio podcast will be out within the next day or so. Make sure to check out Juan's Patreon. All those charts he was talking about, if you were listening to the show and watching in the replay, those are on his Patreon. The links to that as well will be in the description. So with that being said, be safe, stay safe, and hopefully Juan doesn't lose power as I'm hitting end show right now. Take care, everybody.